Have you ever seen something that just shouldn't be possible? Something that completely breaks the rules of reality as you know it? Well, what if I told you that that impossibility wasn't magic, but maybe just a peek into a dimension higher than our own? So, picture this. You're just sitting in your room, minding your own business, and then, bam, a tiny, perfect little sphere just fades into existence out of nowhere. And before you can even really process what you're seeing, it starts to get bigger and bigger. Then things get really weird. It looks like it's turning completely inside out in a way that just makes your brain ache. And just as suddenly as it came, it shrinks back down to a single point, and it's gone. So what on earth did you just see? It wasn't a ghost. It wasn't some kind of weird hallucination. What you just saw was the cross-section of a four-dimensional object, a hypersphere, as it passed right through our three-dimensional world. You literally just had a brush with the fourth dimension.
Okay, let's break this down. Because how are our 3D brains supposed to even imagine a fourth physical dimension? Well, the trick is to actually look down before we can look up. We're going to simplify things. I want you to imagine you're a little stick figure living in a perfectly flat 2D world, like a piece of paper. Your entire universe is just length and width. And suddenly a dot appears from literally nowhere. It expands into a circle, then it shrinks back down to a dot and vanishes. For you, living in Flatland, this would be a miracle, an absolutely impossible, magical event. But here's the thing. For that 2D being, it's an impossibility. For us, looking down from our 3D world, we know exactly what happened. It was just a finger passing through the paper. See? What is a mind-bending, physically impossible event for them is just a simple, everyday interaction for us. And that's the key. We are the stick figures in this scenario. That weird sphere that showed up in your room, that was the finger. And this is where the whole idea goes from being a cool thought experiment to something genuinely unsettling. Because if we just apply that same exact logic one step up, the kind of power a 4D being would have in our world is, well, it's terrifying. Just think about it for a second. We could reach into that 2D paper world and pull out the insides of a 2D square without ever touching its lines. So, what could a being from the fourth dimension do to us?
They would have something that's called inside access. You know how when you look at a square drawn on a piece of paper, you can see its outline and everything inside it all at once? A 4D being would see our 3D bodies the exact same way. They could see every single one of your internal organs, all at the same time, from a direction that for us simply doesn't exist.
Let that sink in. A 4D being could reach into a locked safe and take out the gold without ever opening the door. They can access the inside of things from a direction we can't even point to. And if they can do that to a safe, they could do it to you. They could, quite literally, pull your heart right out of your chest, and there would be no cut, no wound, no scar. Your skin would be perfectly intact. Your heart would just be gone.
So, moving on from that cheerful thought, what would one of these 4D objects actually look like to us? How can we possibly visualize the true shape of the fourth dimension? Well, we can build our way up to it, and it follows a really simple pattern. You take a zero-dimensional point, you move it, and it traces out a one-dimensional line. You take that line, move it perpendicular to itself, and it traces out a two-dimensional square. You take that square, move it perpendicular to itself, and what do you get? A three-dimensional cube. There's a clear pattern here. So, following that exact same logic, you know what the next question is. What happens when you take our 3D cube and move it through that impossible fourth direction, one that's perpendicular to every direction we know? You get a tesseract. And what we're actually seeing here isn't the real thing. It's just its three-dimensional shadow projected into our space. It kind of looks like a smaller cube inside a bigger cube. But the really wild part is when it rotates. Just like a cube's 2D shadow stretches and squishes, a tesseract's 3D shadow is a geometric nightmare. It seems to constantly be turning itself inside out, flowing and shifting in ways that just feel wrong. Okay, so you've just witnessed a violation of known physics, you stared into a geometric abyss, and you've contemplated your own horrifying vulnerability, but honestly, you've got much more immediate, practical problems to deal with. First off, there's the legal side. How are the police supposed to arrest a suspect that they can't even touch or see properly? Good luck with that. Secondly, by having an object appear out of thin air, you've casually broken the laws of thermodynamics. No big deal. You're also probably violating some city zoning laws. But honestly, the biggest problem? After all of that cosmic horror, your landlord is definitely keeping your security deposit.
And all of this leaves us with one last kind of chilling thought. If a four-dimensional object can cast a three-dimensional shadow that looks like a real object to us, what does that mean about our own reality? What if everything we see, everything we touch, our entire universe, is really just the shadow of something else, a much larger, higher dimensional reality that we can't even begin to comprehend?